will come to order. Need to, the audience, tell you that there's agendas out in the hallway. If you need to pick it up so that you can follow along. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes of the March 15th, 2018 meeting? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Allen and seconded by Mr. Fett.
When was that?
Half a year ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. Our first case.
Aren't we going to vote on it?
Oh, okay, if you want to. Fine.
I want to vote.
Who's this young fella?
Oh,
I apologize for being late.
two wheels came in. Just
We're voting on the approval of the minutes.
going on the minutes.
Okay.
Approve the minutes of the March meeting, March 18th. Cast your vote.
With all members voting aye with the exception of Commissioner Waterbury, who abstains, the minutes are approved.
The first case for this evening is PLN 18011-R. Vacation and replant of lots 5 through 7, Mace Edition number 9 to create a new town lot subdivision, Mace Edition number 11, lots 4A and 5A, comprising 0.55 acres, more or less located in the 2900 block on the west side of Central Drive. The applicant is Wolf Creek Properties, Inc. Give a staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Wolf Creek Properties, Inc. is the applicant for the requested replat of 3 lots to create the new 2-lot subdivision. The subject property is zoned C2, general business, and encompasses approximately a ½ acre in total. There's no minimum lot size in the C2 zoning district, and the resulting lots are larger than exists under the current configuration. Subject property is being developed as a single-family residential development, which is conforming and permitted in the C2 district. Staff's recommendation is that after the public hearing, if the Planning Commission finds that the requested replat meets the minimum codes of the Casper Municipal Code, the Commission should approve the replat and forward it to the Council with a due pass recommendation. I'm a little out of practice, Mr. Chairman. I have 6 exhibits. A is the replat application, B, vicinity map, C, copy of the plat, D, legal notice sent to the Star Tribune, E, notice of public hearing sent to property owners within 300 feet, and F, memo to the chairman and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. That concludes staff's report, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Does any of the commission have any questions? I now declare the public hearing open for consideration of PLN 18011-R. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes, the rules of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals who address the commission to approach the lectern, identify yourself and state your address. With the person representing this case come forward and explain the application.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Sean Gustafson, ECS Engineers. Is that on? Okay. I'll get a little closer. 111 West 2nd Street, Suite 600 here in Casper, Wyoming. The purpose for this, even though these are very large and long lots, is they are fairly narrow, and the single family, originally they were developed for townhomes. In fact, the 2 on the southern end are townhomes. There's two groups of townhomes down there. However, interested buyers in these lots have expressed the desire to build single-family residences, much like has been on the south end of this, or excuse me, the north end of this property. So in order to get that in there and meet all setback requirements, so on side yards, we presented this replat, taking 3 lots into 2 lots. I guess with that, I'd love to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Gustafson? Thank you very much. As required by state law, we have to invite people to come in and comment in favor or in opposition to all public hearings. Is there anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of this particular case? Seeing there isn't one, is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this case? There being no others to speak against this case, I now declare the public hearing closed. Entertain a motion to approve and forward a due pass recommendation to City Council, deny or table the case for the PLN 18011-R, the replat.
Mr. Chairman, I move that PLN 18-011R be forwarded to City Council for their vacation and replat with a due pass recommendation.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Please cast your vote.
With all members voting aye, the motion passes.
Discussion. Just follow on this. Yes, sir?
Mr. Chairman, for clarification purposes, were the exhibits accepted into the record that were presented in the staff report? Did you accept the exhibits?
I don't believe there were.
Thank you.
All 6 of them?
Do we need to do that, or that was it? Okay. Next case this evening, petition for a zone change of lots 1 through 8 inclusive, Block 1, North Burlington Addition, located at 143, 145, 159, and 169 West K Street, from R3, 1 to 4 unit residential, to R5, mixed residential. Applicants Roseanne Jean Weber and Penny Lynn Davenport. Have a staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff's recommendation that if after the required public hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission finds that the proposed zone change meets the minimum requirements of the Casper Municipal Code and is in conformance with the comprehensive land use plan, the Planning and Zoning Commission should approve it and forward a due pass recommendation to the City Council. The applicants in this case have requested a zone change of their properties, lots 1 through 8, Block 1, North Burlington Addition, from R3 to R5. The area surrounding the subject property is a mix of zoning districts, including R3, C2, R5, and R6. Land uses in the area are a mix of both residential and commercial. The applicants have stated that the reason that they've requested a rezoning of the properties is to increase the variety of land uses for those lots. The primary difference between the existing R3 zoning and the proposed R5 zoning is that the single-wide manufactured homes are permitted in the R5 zoning district, provided they're on a permanent foundation. The R5 zoning district also allows several types of small neighborhood-serving commercial businesses by right, whereas those same uses require the approval of a conditional use permit under R3 zoning. Section 1712-170 of the Municipal Code requires the staff review zoning applications in the context of the approved comprehensive land use plan and provide a recommendation to the Planning Commission and City Council as to how the zone change is either supported or not supported. The comprehensive land use plan is the city's land use and development policy document that describes the values and ideals expressed by the community for its future during an exhaustive public input process. Chapter 3 of the Comprehensive Land Use Plan provides principles and goals, and those principles and goals that may be applicable in this case have been listed in your staff report. As was the case with the 2000 Comprehensive Land Use Plan, the Generation Casper Comprehensive Plan provides a future land use plan, which is found in Chapter 4 on page 4-26. The future land use plan, future land use map is a map that identifies the physical distribution of land uses and forms the basis for future zoning and land use regulations. According to the FLU, the properties in questions are designated as a neighborhood center. And the plan indicates that neighborhood centers are areas for low-scale commercial uses, supporting general neighborhood needs with supporting multifamily residential. Furthermore, neighborhood centers typically consist of offices, small grocery, and/or restaurants. Size, scale, and intensity of uses fit into the context of the neighborhood, and centers are highly connected and pedestrian and bicycle friendly. Although primarily a residential neighborhood or residential type character, other uses are focused at intersections and major corridors to buffer single-family residential neighborhoods. In conclusion, staff has included in your staff report permitted uses for both the existing R3 zoning and the proposed R5 zoning for your reference. And I have 5 exhibits to enter, Mr. Chairman. A is the petition for zone change. B, vicinity map of the 300-foot notification zone. C, public notice sent to the Star Tribune. D, notice of public hearing sent to property owners within 300 feet. And E, memo to the chairman and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. That concludes staff's report, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions by the commission?
You want to accept the exhibits?
Oh, yeah. Accept the exhibits as stated for this plan. I now declare the public hearing open for consideration of case PLN 18012Z. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes, rules of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals who address the commission to approach the lectern, identify yourself, state your address. Would the person representing this case come forward and explain the application, please?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Leon Weber. I'm the son of Rosanna Jean Weber, who's applied for the zoning change. The reason for the zoning change primarily is that we live across the street from the Riverside Trailer Park. There are 2 single-wide trailers behind us that are not on permanent foundations. There's one at the end of the block that is not on a permanent foundation. And my mother's house that we're mainly concerned with, which is 143 West K, it's a house that doesn't conform with present standards in that the setback on either side are not 5 feet as required by the present zoning. And what she wants to do is tear down a 100-year-old house and move in a nice modern single-wide trailer and make this property basically usable again. Any questions?
Are there any questions of the applicant?
Is it a trailer or is it a prefab?
No, the house that's there now was probably built before these lots were actually laid down. And on one side of it, it actually overlaps the lot. And on the other side, there's probably this much room between the neighbor's house and ours. We want to kind of clean that up a little bit. Mother feels strongly she's lived in this set of lots since about 1949 when I was born, and she'd like to get rid of the house. We've got some personal reasons to get rid of it. My daughter committed suicide in it, and I just want the place gone. And Mother agrees.
Is the new house, is that going to be a trailer or is it a prefab?
More than likely. What we want is to tear the house down now, and then we're going to deal with the folks upstairs about what we're gonna put in there. We don't have any trailer purchase. We haven't talked to a contractor about a stick built. Right now, we'd like to get it zoned to where we can go either direction.
Okay. Sorry about your daughter.
Mr. Chairman, could I get the address for the gentleman speaking, please?
Oh, Leon, what's your address?
My mother's address, 159.
159? It would be the West K? Okay, thank you. If there are no further questions, thank you.
Oh, I wanted to bring up an idea too, because there are those prefab homes too.
Well, and that's not out of the question. Like I said, we're trying to enter into this process, and we dealt with Craig Collins upstairs, and he was the one that said, well, let's not get the cart before the horse. Let's make sure that this group will go along with the zone change. Once that's completed, then we're going to start looking into prefabs, mobiles. We're going to explore all the options. My mother isn't wealthy, but she's got a few dollars she'd like to spend to upgrade the property, and this is the starting point for us.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. What's the address for the property that you're going to tear down?
143, that's the first one. That's lot
Okay.
8.
The one for this.
I don't know if you can tell by them pictures, but it really doesn't conform with anything that we have presently. Sits right at the end of Davis Street on the old flats. That was Gibson Street.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Chairman?
That will be all. Thank you very much. If there's no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
As required by state law, we have to invite people to comment in favor of or in opposition in all public hearings. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this case, PLN 18-012Z for the Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in opposition? There being no others to speak for or against the case, I now declare the public hearing closed and will entertain a motion to approve and forward to council with a due pass recommendation, deny or table this particular case.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yes?
Right now, can we put mobile homes in there?
Mr. Chairman, manufactured homes are allowed if they're at least a double wide, 24 by 36 on a permanent foundation under the current zoning. A single wide is not. A single wide would become allowed under the R5, provided it's on a permanent foundation.
Are there any other questions for the staff? There being no others, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the rezoning for PLN 18012Z be sent to council with a due pass recommendation.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second. Mr. Waterbury is a second. Any discussion? And cast your votes.
With the exception of Mr. Hine, all members vote aye, and the motion passes.
Motion's carried.
Mr. Chairman, it might be helpful to the applicants if we explain that the zone change won't be final until it goes through council for 3 readings. So we have a few more steps to go through.
Are you aware of this?
Actually, I wasn't, but I certainly understand.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? I would like to welcome Council Liaison, Ms. Hopkins, to the proceedings this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bob Hopkins, 405 South Beach, Ward 1 council member. As you folks may be aware, we are still looking at getting an RFP together for the Plains Furniture properties, and there are probably going to be some additional hearings scheduled. Again, I would ask for your input, whether it be via a resolution or just a note from the Planning and Zoning Commission as to your wishes. I know many of you have expressed your wishes before, but I just want to let you know that there are going to be some additional hearings, and we would still, as a personal note, I guess, I would like to move forward with getting something into the old Plains Furniture building. So we would like to have you guys weigh in on that. You have any questions for me?
Well, I do have a question for you on that issue. Are you looking for something from us as individuals or from a consensus from the zoning commission?
I can give you direction, but I would take either one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Our last case this evening, PLN 1803C, petition for a conditional use permit for the construction of a parking lot in the C2 General Business Zoning District located at 1425 South Poplar Street, more particularly described as Lot 4, Block 166, Casper Addition, accepting the southwest corner to the city street. Applicant is M&T Enterprises LLC. With a staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff recommends that if, after the public hearing, Planning and Zoning Commission finds that the requested conditional use permit meets the 2 reasons and 6 findings necessary for the approval of a conditional use permit found in section 1712-240 G and H of the Casper Municipal Code, as outlined in the code compliance section of this staff report, it would be staff's recommendation that the Planning and Zoning Commission articulate its findings and apply at a minimum the following 2 conditions of approval. First, pursuant to section 1712-240I, the municipal code, the conditional use permit shall be exercised and all conditions shall be met within 1 year of the date of approval, or the conditional use permit shall become null and void. And second, prior to the construction of the parking lot, the applicant shall obtain approval of a formal site plan application by the Community Development Director. I'm not going to go through the code compliance section. I'm going to try to speed this along, but if you have any questions about the conditions or findings necessary, I'd welcome those. Otherwise, they're in the staff report. Mr. Chairman, M&T Enterprises LLC has applied for a conditional use permit to allow a parking lot in a C2 General Business Zoning District located at 1425 South Poplar Street. The applicants have stated that the purpose of the parking lot will be to provide parking for the commercial office building south of the subject property. The property is located approximately 200 feet north of the intersection of CY Avenue and South Poplar Street on the east side of Poplar. The property was formerly occupied by a single-family residential structure which was demolished. Section 1768030F of the Municipal Code lists parking lots as requiring the approval of a conditional use permit in the C2 zoning district. The applicant was previously granted a conditional use permit by the Planning and Zoning Commission in June of 2017. However, the applicant was unable to complete all the requirements of that permit within the 1 year time limit. Therefore, the conditional use permit became void. Over the last year, the applicant has worked to complete the YDOT requirements of the state's access permit. The applicant has submitted a site plan to the Community Development Department for review and approval pending the decision of the commission on the conditional use permit. As was the case in June of 2017, and as with any conditional use permit application, the Planning and Zoning Commission must determine if the proposed use of the property is compatible with the intent of the zoning district and is compatible with the surrounding area. 17.68.1010 of the municipal code states that the purpose of the C2 district is to establish, preserve, and expand a general business district, providing a wide variety of goods and services for the city. Mr. Chairman, staff has included a recommended motion at the end of the staff report, which can be referenced by the Planning Commission in assistance in making a motion. It's just illustrative, so by no means would you be bound to use that as your motion. Staff has 5 exhibits to enter. A is the conditional use permit application. B, map of the 300-foot notification zone. C, legal notice sent to the Star Tribune. D, notice of public hearing sent to property owners within 300 feet. And E, memo to the chairman and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. That concludes staff's report, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. We accept the exhibits as stated. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I do have one question for Mr. Collins.
Mr. King.
Is there any changes at all from the application that was submitted in June of 17, or that was approved in June of 2017?
The only change in our recommended conditions was we removed one condition that required YDOT's approval because they did obtain YDOT's approval since that time. That's what they've been working the last year on, is getting all the requirements of the access permit for Poplar Street in line. So
And that was the cause of the delay, was dealing with YDOT?
I believe so, yes.
Are there any other questions at this time? I now declare the public hearing open for consideration. Case PLN 1803C. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes, the rules of Planning and Zoning Commission, and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals who address the commission, approach the lectern, identify yourself and state your address. Would the person representing this particular case come forward and explain the application?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Ron Trussell, 2030 Walsh Drive, Casper, Wyoming. This is my wife, Rita. We'd like to have this parking lot for a building next door, and the reason last year we didn't get it done is because YDOT, and we had issues with the general contractor getting the work going. So this year we're in better shape, we have drawings, and we're more alert of what we have to do. So we've already submitted a fairly detailed drawing to them already, but we got some minor details to work out. We'll be ready to go this year.
Okay, are there any questions of Mr. Trussell?
I have a question.
That's right.
Included with the information that you submitted was a shade tree. Are you going to plant a tree in the parking lot?
There's a tree that's going to be in one of the, there's triangles through that parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a tree in one of the triangles,
Okay,
not in the parking lot.
Okay.
It's going to be isolated from the parking lot.
okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So, on your drawings, do you have egress and, like, you're entering from Poplar Street rather than from the alley? And is there entry or exit on the alley side, or?
No, you can't go out that way.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And YDOT approved the,
Yes, they did. We had 2 exits there, or entrances, and they made us get rid of one of them because they didn't like it. There was an existing one that we had to relocate or down farther down. So it's all done and been approved, so we should be in good shape there.
Thank you very much.
You bet, sir. Thank you.
As required by state law, we have to invite people to comment in favor of or in opposition to all public hearings. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of or in opposition? There being no others to speak for or against the case, I now declare the public hearing closed and entertain a motion to approve deny or table this case, and approval will be along the recommended motion made by staff with conditions.
Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of PLN 18013C with the two conditions mentioned in staff's report and the 6 findings that were also mentioned in staff's report.
Second. Mr. Feth, second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, would that include the 2 reasons as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Please cast your vote.
With all members voting aye, the motion passes.
This concludes the public hearing for this evening. If there's anyone interested in the audience that wishes to discuss anything further, please come forward at this time. Any communications from the commission?
Mr. Chairman, I just think should be mentioned that some of us attended the Wild Pass Conference in Riverton, and I believe it was in May.
Yes.
And I personally got a lot out of it. I hope the others did too. There were 5 of us there, so I think we were well represented along with staff.
We outnumbered most places in the state, so and they also have similar issues around the state from we were talking to in the other
Plus, they had a good presentation on Main Street, on what they're doing and statewide and all that good stuff, educating everybody.
We thank very much the city for allowing us to get there.
Happy to have such a great turnout.
And for a great ride over by
You're welcome. Randy's bus service.
anything else? Any communications from the Community Development Director, who is not here but in her stead?
She did not pass anything along tonight.
Okay. Council Liaison already jumped in and got his ahead of time. We thank you very much. But do you have anything more to take now that you have the complete floor? Any other communications? Staff or from attorney? No, okay. There being no further business to conduct, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to adjourn the meeting.
Do I have a second? Please cast your vote.
With all members voting aye, the motion passes.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you,
Some
people.
more controversial stuff that city council's dealing with.
Yeah.
Line up our meetings. Bob, can you arrange some of